So if you had a project that you were working on and you came back the next day and someone had completed it, would that be something that you would take kindly of, or would you not like that?
Personally, for me, I think it would be a little upsetting because if I made the effort to start a project and I'm working on it, I obviously wanted to do it. And maybe the person thought that they were doing me a favor or that they were like showing tribute or something. But actually, I think I'd be pretty upset about it.
I think for me, it depends on the project. If it was something that I was really like passionate about, I'd be a little upset because I kind of wanted to do that, and having someone else do that, it's like they got to have the fun that I didn't get to have. Like, I don't know. It really depends because some things are like really like labor intensive, and if someone did do that heavy lifting, I'd be like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, it depends I don't have to do that. It definitely depends on how much I actually wanted to do the project versus see the result of the project.
Yeah, I think that's why AI has been taking off, because everyone wants to see the results of their ideas immediately, and they don't really want to put in the effort to actually like take all the steps to do everything, because it really isn't easy.
It's a pitfall.
That's why sometimes when someone else touches your project, it can be kind of like, oh, come on, don't touch that.
Man.
It's mine.
Man, I was working on man, what the...
Yeah.
And then they get the credit for the thing that you were working on.
Yeah.
So the reason we're talking about this today is because I was browsing Twitter, you know, doom scrolling as they do, looking at the For You, and I came across this animation of Mario and Luigi. And I saw this specific animation, which is based on that new deer anime. You know, Shika noko 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 koshitanda. You know that one? I saw like a bunch of whips of it before, like work in progresses. And the one that I saw today was like fully done and in 3D. I'm like, oh, I thought they were like sketching everything out. I didn't realize they were just going to do it in 3D. So I click on it. And then I find out that was a completely different user that just like finished the other person's project for them, basically.
Yeah. And when you sent that, I'm like, oh, well, did they want them to do that?
Well, it wasn't just that, because they didn't like, okay, they put that they were a reference in a reply to the main tweet. But they in the main tweet, they didn't say that, you know, this was made by somebody else.
Yeah.
And it's in the style of the new Mario and Luigi Brothers, Super Brothers, whatever, that game. It's in the style of that. So it's not like the person who was originally working on it owned that style, but they were clearly putting a lot of effort into it. If you look at the storyboards.
Yeah. And like that's the other thing I think I would have worded a little different. Calling it a reference is probably not the best thing to refer to it as. It was a storyboard. Like,
someone else's project.
Technically, someone else came up with that dance first, but converting that into another character is hard. Like, I've known a lot of animators over the years, and I'm telling you that, like, putting characters on top of something like that is not easy. Translating
different anatomy and a different art style.
Yeah. It's so much easier to follow that template of the storyboard than it is to morph that storyboard into something else, but on purpose. Every time someone does it wrong, it's like accidental. But if you can purposefully morph that into something else, it's not that easy. And it does, I would refer to that as a storyboard rather than a reference, personally.
And I'm not saying that this person did anything maliciously, and for all we know, they got permission. But for me personally, when I saw this, I was like, oh no, but this person was working on it. And now maybe this one's going to get all the attention and theirs won't. Because like it got finished. So what reason do they have to finish theirs, you know? I'm just thinking about that. And I don't want this person to feel bad either.
Watch, they just got permission and we're just talking about this. Like, hey, we talked about it. We got permission. It's fine. Nobody cares.
Just like think about Well, okay, so the original artist that made this was also Japanese, and from what I've seen of a lot of Japanese artists, they really usually don't like their things being touched or reposted, or they're just very like protective of their work.
Especially to the Westerners.
Yeah,
They don't like when we do it specifically the most.
we are the overseas, and we are usually seen as like problematic
Yeah.
to.
Oh God, we're not ripping you, but we're gonna tell you that everyone is probably
Listen,
ripping you.
a lot of Japanese artists pull out of posting their stuff or letting Westerners even see anything of their work. And it's
Yeah.
because we don't like respect them the way that they want to be respected.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about that.
That is to say, we don't know about this situation.
We don't know about
Yeah.
this situation. This was just to bring up the topic because
Yeah. It's an interesting topic because a lot of artists really don't understand the difference between copying someone and being inspired by somebody.
Yeah.
And to them, it's like there really is no difference because to them, tracing something is a way of being inspired, but to the artist, it feels like you're just copying them. And I don't know. I don't have a big problem with it, like with people just doing it in general. But
especially when they're young.
Yeah, the younger you are, the less it matters. Like I did this when I was young, and
Everybody does.
people really gave me crap for it. I talked about this in a different episode about like Newgrounds trauma.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I don't get mad at young people for doing things,
No.
but I can say that I don't always appreciate it, but I never, ever, ever make that known.
Of course.
Because it's really rude to do that at the same time.
Yeah,
like, you
because-
can't just like walk up to a fan and go like, I don't like that. You'd be like, oh, cool. And then secretly you go like kicking yourself like, oh man, they got to it. I wanted to do
if you were
that.
a kid and the artist that you were idolizing, like came in and like kicked your ass over it because you were
You'd
referencing
never,
them too
ever,
much,
ever love them again. You'd think they were a piece of shit, honestly.
you would grow up bitter and sad and hurt, and like I think that sucks.
Yeah, that's...
Because there were a lot of people that I looked up to when I was younger, and I ended up mimicking their style like very, very, very heavily. And that's just what it's like to be an artist, especially as a kid. You're just like observing what the other people do, and your art becomes a love letter to all of the things that you liked.
Yeah.
But there's a difference when then you get older and you continue to just make one-to-one copies of other people's stuff, because then you are also in the same community as these other artists, because we're all
Yeah.
just like indie artists. We're all just individuals.
We want to see some original tricks.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Like... when you get older, it's people want to see you do some original stuff. It's
Yeah,
not
they want to see what you have to offer.
like I can get over being copied, but I know someone can't get over being disrespected by somebody that they admire.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
That's why we never make a big deal about it, even when it's like, dang it.
I
man.
love inspiring younger artists, and I always have, even when I was younger myself. Like,
Yeah.
I used to want to make coloring book pages and things for other people to be able to draw, like other kids to be able to draw, and things of that nature.
See, I pick on them so they get better.
No! You
Dude, that
did.
sucks. You should try harder.
No!
Okay, not like that. But
No.
I am a very honest critiquer, and I very much push people to their limits.
You're very...
But I try
can be
to do
rude.
it in a way that doesn't demotivate them, because like a lot of people cannot handle being talked to honestly when it comes to art, because art is such an expression of them.
Yeah.
And when you tear that down, you're kind of tearing a piece of them
You're
down. So you
cutting
have to
them
be
up.
careful, but you also have to like let them know like you have to change this if you want any chance, because there are so many people who will not tell you that. They'll just pat you on the back. Every bad decision you make, they will support you through. And then you're wondering why your career doesn't take off. It's because the people around you either know that it's not good enough and won't tell you, or they don't know it's not good enough, have no idea how to tell you to improve, because to them it's perfect. And
But then you get into the industry, and then
yeah,
there's
and then
like
everyone
all this everything and everyone.
Yeah, everyone gives you that like honesty right away, like, and it's rude. It's not polite.
They're gonna be blunt.
So
They're gonna
you
hurt your feelings, and you will cry in the
Yeah.
bathroom afterwards.
So you kind of want a friend who's nice to you about it, but will also be like, dude, that fucking sucks.
Okay, but no, not like that though.
But to be honest, in a way, it's true. Like you've learned a lot from me telling you, like like those arms look weird, like they don't look like real arms. And
Oh,
you're like, what does
man.
that mean? And then I explain it, like, well, you see the proportion. Like I
Okay.
explained arms to you one time, and I think you've always remembered that.
Come closer, come closer. Okay, listen. It's time to listen.
Okay.
Dalton had Dalton was like my first real critiquer person to critique me. Because I grew up and my mom was like, "Oh my God, that's amazing! I love that. That's beautiful." And I love that because I needed that in my life.
Well, pause.
honestly.
Hold on. Let me add in a side note. There is importance to that kind of encouragement.
It's
if
so
somebody
important.
is like honestly really low skilled and they will never break into the industry with their current skill set, you have to encourage them. There's
Well,
no way they can
also-
face that reality at that point.
When they're a kid, it's a little
Right.
bit.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's why you don't just like punch them in the face when they're doing crayon drawings.
Keep encouraging them because they're trying to show their creativity.
Yeah.
And I
It's-
genuinely
so what I'm saying
love
is
that.
it was important that your mom did that early
Yeah.
on because you probably would not have been as interested. But later on, if you
No.
wanted to take that into a career, you needed someone like me to be like, okay, now that you love art, can I make you like work for art? Do you want to work for art?
Dalton taught me a lot, and I still think about it. Like, I used to make my arms, like, from the shoulder to the elbow, and then to the elbow to the wrist, like,
Really
from the
short.
from the shoulder to the elbow, it would be really short, but then from the elbow to the wrist, it would be really long. And it would look weird, and I didn't even realize that until Dalton brought it up to me. And he's like, those are, like, the same size.
Yeah, like your
same
forearm
length.
and your
From the wrist
Your-
to the elbow, to
Yeah.
the elbow, to the shoulder.
those are the same like length when you're
Same
drawing
length.
them. Because when you put your arm up to your shoulder, your hand can touch your shoulder because they're like it's just a rough way of like thinking about arms. Like copying the
Make
lengths
two
is a good way
tubes.
to practice the anatomy in the beginning because you can be more specific and
Yeah.
it looks the most accurate.
Yeah.
And then later you can move on to the like how they look, the thickness of the arms and how to
Yeah.
draw like muscles and shit like that. Anatomy is something that if you're someone who does cartoony styles and you think that traditional art has no benefit to you, you probably just had a shitty art teacher because the fundamentals of art is actually very, very, very valuable for simple styles. You cannot simplify things without complicating them first.
You got to understand it in its real form to be able to break it apart and make it more simplified.
Yeah. If you have never tried to do digital painting as a cartoon artist or like an anime artist, do it.
Like,
Try it.
Paint
Don't-
that apple.
do
Paint
not-
that realistic apple.
Do not view it as I'm painting an apple. Do it as I'm digitally painting.
Yeah.
And the apple is the byproduct of that.
Same as the 3D and the donut.
Yeah, that's how I got Emmy through the donut. I kept telling her like, you're not making a donut, you're learning 3D. Just if it sucks,
Through
just
the donut.
go through the steps. We
Because
will-
you're learning
yeah.
through it.
Yes.
It's not about the donut. It's about learning how
The brush
to make
strokes.
the donut.
What are you doing? Why are you doing those things?
Yeah.
How does it apply? And then suddenly you're applying shading to simple art and it's
Yeah.
like 10 times better and you didn't even know you could do that because you never thought to shade before.
Understand the
That's-
fundamentals first,
Yes.
and then you can learn to stylize more.
Yes. Shading is the first thing that you like pick up on when you do traditional art and then you try and simplify it because you realize like, wait, oh, I understand how light works now. And now that I understand how light works, I can actually add shading to a simple scene and make it look like there's light in the room without actually shading anything in a complicated way. You're like look at my my face right now. We'll zoom into me.
Huh?
Yeah, I have like this shading under my face that kind of simplifies my neck.
Yeah.
The reason why the shading is there is to kind of show that I have like depth to my head.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't think to do that if you didn't understand that's why you were doing that.
Yeah.
And maybe you picked up on that from other artists and you kind of started doing it as a habit. But if you didn't do it because of shading, then that means you haven't learned the fundamentals of art yet. You've picked it up from other artists, which is something really common, like pillows.
True.
Everyone does the corners of the pillows with the little fluffs.
Okay, so
because an artist did that.
Imagine
once.
a pillow in your head. Imagine drawing a pillow. Do you put those little pinches at the very corners of each of the pillow? Pillows don't normally look like that, but one artist did it and it popularized it.
Yep.
And so we all do it that way now.
Yep. And you don't realize it. You just think and you can even understand why they did it.
Yeah.
But you'll understand it better if you just do the fundamentals.
Yep.
Just not like an art teacher would I had an art teacher who didn't.
You were about to plug your nose to make their voice.
Yes!
I heard it.
Ooh, listen, if you had a bad art teacher, it's not your fault if you don't like traditional art. It's their fault.
Up.
It is their fault. They never, ever, ever introduced it to you correctly. Because one time I had a teacher who was like, you need to draw every individual leaf on a tree. And so I did. And she's like, but they're not detailed enough. No, okay, but the what you learn by doing that is that every detail matters. Not that you have to amplify it every single leaf. It's that you have to draw every leaf because art is a manual process and you have to put every leaf on the tree. That's the lesson to have been learned. But no, they just like, those don't look like real
I think we
leaves.
always get cranky art teachers.
I
What's
hate
up with that?
Some kids are not as creative as others, so you have to teach them differently. That's where art teachers fail you. They think fundamentals is a fucking square peg. Like, it goes into a square peg.
You are
no.
so spiced up right now.
Yeah, because, listen, I feel like most people who hate traditional art had a shitty art teacher.
Probably.
Artists
that,
are some of the most,
you.
they're pompous, okay? Artists, snooty, okay? We're artists. We should know. Artists are very snooty, and they tend not to like things out of their style very often.
True.
It's just, I don't know what it is with artists. I don't know. That's why I don't always
They always feel like they know better.
I don't always tell people I'm an artist. I'm just a creator because I kind of do everything anyway. And I don't know.
I like to say
I don't act like an artist
designer.
even though I know how to draw.
Yeah.
I like all styles. I will try any style. Like, I don't care.
I know it. You're really good at duplicating styles. I remember back when you recreated Wow Wow Wubsy.
Oh my God. Yeah, I did that in high school. I redid
Wow,
like
wow, Wubsy, Wubsy,
the
Wubsy, wow, wow.
Wow Wubsy graphics and animation.
Yeah.
It's because they did Flash. I'm like, oh, I know how to use Flash. That looks really easy to replicate. And then I did.
And then you did.
Yeah.
And it was really cute.
It kind of ropes back to the original topic.
Oh, yeah.
Copying
Recreating
things.
and copying. See,
Yeah.
there is a lot of benefit to doing it, but you just like...
I grew out of it, though. Yeah.
There's ways to do it where it's really beneficial for you. And always remember to, like, if somebody really inspired you, make sure you say that, you know?
I did
Let
learn a
people know
lot
who
from
inspired
copying
you.
Wow Wow Wubsy. Like,
Did you really?
yeah. Even, like, it's funny because a lot of the shit I did was, like, really inappropriate. Like,
Yeah, I know.
Even above, like, the age group that I was a part of. It's
Of
like,
course.
you weren't really supposed to be looking at that stuff at my
Little
age, but I was
boys.
making it.
what you do.
I wasn't making, like, porn, but I was making a lot of things with dicks in it.
Of course.
Like penises, like
yeah, of course.
comical, like
Wiggly.
wiggly penises.
Of
and shit.
course.
Yeah. That was me.
Of course.
But yeah.
So you learned a lot from Wubsy, though.
Yeah.
I remember you had a cutout of Wubsy somewhere.
Oh yeah, it's that's because in my class we had to make like a cutout of something, and I had a vector image.
Because you made it.
Yeah. So you don't know how many things that like I was able to like bypass in my class for that, just because I already had stuff like that done, and I just applied it to a project, and everyone's like, "How do you get so far in your projects?" It's like, because I've been doing this for years. And I not only know how
cheating technically?
Oh my God. I had a Flash class in high school.
Oh my God.
And the teacher was literally just reading a book, and I was like, dear God. And I actually technically didn't have the class. I just walked in on it during lunch break.
Of course you did. You
And
just walked in anywhere and they just let you in.
I talked to the teacher and I'm like, look, I have personal projects that I do at home. Can I skip lunch and do Flash projects in your classroom?
Wow.
And they're like, yes, but if I have any questions about Flash, can I ask you?
Oh my God.
And I'm like, okay. And so I was just in there actually working on projects.
You just worked out a deal with a fucking teacher.
And they would come to me and ask me questions about Flash, and I would help them teach the class.
Wow.
Like, I wouldn't teach the class, but I'd explain to them how he could teach the class, or she could teach the class.
Wow.
Yep. That was my deal. And in there, I was doing like credits for like projects that I was working on, making like graphics and Flash. It was always stuff that was like school appropriate, but oh boy, if only they knew what those projects were.
Wow.
They would not let me work on them.
Of course. Just like how you walked in a culinary class and they just let you in.
Yep. And then we just made friends with all the culinary kids.
Wild.
And even the teachers didn't even question why we were there. They're like, are you supposed to be here? We're like, yeah. And it's funny. I told the culinary teacher that we were allowed to be there. And I told my teacher that we were supposed to be there. So
wow.
they both believed me.
I mean, not
and
all
then
the
when they
teachers
checked
are
with each other, like, hey, he's here. All right, cool.
Oh my God.
We actually got the teachers to just
Believe
not
it.
know that we weren't supposed to be there. They just let it happen.
Oh my God.
Well, it was at the end of the school year, though. Like, we had like 3 months left, maybe at most.
Your teachers didn't give a fuck.
They didn't. And we actually like assimilated with the culinary kids because apparently they had a lot of drama before we showed up. And
culinary drama.
yeah. By the way, this was a friend in school, not Emmy.
Huh?
When I say we.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm not name dropping them because they haven't given me permission to.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, I think that might wrap it up for today's episode. We covered a lot of topics. I hope that artist doesn't feel like we were attacking them because
we're definitely not attacking you.
I
swear
literally
to God.
said that I did the same thing when I was younger, so
And
I hope they don't feel like
nobody bother them.
I cared that much, but it is
go-
something to consider. Like when you get older, you might have to phase out some of those practices.
Look at cool art. Appreciate cool art.
Yeah. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, okay, bye.